and welcome to today's webinar. In today's diverse workplace, up to 4 generations might find themselves working together. Leading a multi-generational team comes with its challenges. For example, differences in values, expectations, and communication styles can sometimes create friction. However, those differences also present a great opportunity for innovation, collaboration, and growth. Today's webinar is titled Effective Leadership in a Multi-Generational Workplace. My name is Yarela Callejas, and I will be your moderator for this session, hosted in collaboration with Impakta Talent. Before we begin, for those joining us for the first time, let me briefly introduce the Spain U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping businesses expand into the United States. Through events, networking opportunities, and educational programs, we support companies and the professionals as they navigate in the challenges and opportunities in the U.S. market. If you would like to learn more about our upcoming activities or explore additional webinars, I invite you to take a look on our website at www.spainuschamber.com or subscribe on our YouTube channel, where you will find more content like today's discussion. In this session, we will dive into key strategies for leading multi-generational teams, starting with understanding generational differences, then moving on to developing essential leadership skills, and finally, implementing best practices to foster a more productive and inclusive workplace. At the end of this session, we will have a Q&A segment. Feel free to submit your questions at any time using the question tab on the right side of your control panel. We encourage you to send them throughout the discussion so we can organize them and address as many as possible. Now, let me introduce our partners for today's webinar, Impakta Talent. Impakta Talent is a boutique consultancy specializing in talent acquisition and leadership development. Their mission is to provide tailored solutions for building strong teams and managing the diverse workplaces, both generationally and culturally. Headquartered in the United States, Impakta Talent has a strong presence across Latin America and the Caribbean. Today, we are honored to have two distinguished experts in leadership and talent management, who will share their insight on how to successfully lead multi-generational teams. Natalia Ledezma. Natalia is an international consultant with over 25 years of experience in talent management and leadership. She has worked with Zurich Financial Services, Novartis Pharmaceuticals, and Spencer Stuart, blending corporate and consulting experience. Over the past 15 years, she has led executive acquisition and leadership assessment projects across Latin America, the United States, and Australia. Claudia Rojas. Claudia is a leadership consultant and executive coach with over 20 years of experience working with organizations in South America and United States. Before founding Impakta Talent, she held key leadership positions in human resources, where she played a crucial role in cultural transformation, team development, and leadership growth. Now, let's give a warm welcome to our panelists, Natalia and Claudia.
Thank you, Yarela, and thank you everyone for being here. Welcome to this webinar. I am Natalia Ledezma, founder and director of Impakta Talent, and I will be co-hosting this webinar with Claudia Rojas, also founder and director of Impakta Talent. Our goal today is to explore the key fundamentals that will help you better navigate generational diversity in the workplace. For this, we will be covering three main topics: the generational landscape, the essential skills that you need to lead multi-generational teams, and the best practices we have identified and proved together with our clients to enhance collaboration and productivity. But before we dive into action, we want to share with you some of striking data that might get you to think what is the reality that people are facing right now in the workplaces. These first indicators highlights a clear gap. Most of the organizations see generational diversity as critical, but very few of them are doing something about it. So the challenge here is not the why, but how. So here is where leadership makes a difference. Generational stereotypes block inclusivity and productivity. Recognizing and addressing them is key to build strong teams. And this last one, which I love. Nearly half of the Gen Z employees say they receive better career advice from ChatGPT than from their human managers, highlighting a clear need for leaders to step up as trusted mentors. These three indicators, what are telling us is that leadership needs to evolve to build effective and supportive teams for the future. And that's where we are going to go deep in today's session. And with this in mind, now we will learn more about the generational landscape, and Claudia will walk us through this. Claudia?
Thank you, Natalia, and thank you, everyone, and thank you for being here. Well, let's start with this. Most of our clients come to us asking for help to improve the team's performance. This is the reason why they contact us. When we dive in, most of the time it's about communication. And what is communication? It is exchange between individuals, right? It is about us, but with an emphasis on the other person. And it is there when we fail, when we try to communicate. And why do we fail? Because we don't know anything about our counterpart. What is important for them? What do they value? How can we influence them? And how we can make them feel important? How can we engage them? Most of the time it's about us, and we don't pay attention what the others need. So the only way to understand the other person and understand how we can communicate effectively is about understanding what is important to the other person. And it is very common, and it is a natural tendency in us as human beings to think that our generation is the one and the best one. And that's the reason why most of the time we fail when we try to lead teams that are different from the generations we are part of. So understanding each generation is crucial if we want to improve our relationship with coworkers and create an impact on our teams. So now let's start understanding each generation. But let me give you a little framework before we start. So the modern workplace highlights up to 5 generations, from silent generation to the Generation Z. However, very soon we will have alphas as well. So in 10 years in the modern workplace, we will have alpha generation as well. And if you have a teenager at home, people who teenagers who born from 2012, you have an alpha already at home. So most teams nowadays consist of 4 key groups: baby boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z. Each generation is shaped by a unique historical events, technologies, and cultural shifts. And this is very important to take into account, because everything shapes the generations that we are dealing with. So in order to understand each group better, we need to start with ourselves and understand where we, within our generations, are. This will help us to understand why each person behaves the way they behave. So let's go a bit deeper into each of them. So we have categorized the information in 4 dimensions: leadership, collaboration, communication, and work environment. We believe these dimensions represent the key aspects that leaders should take into consideration when managing generationally diverse groups. So before we start talking about each generation, as we go through each group, I would like to ask you to think about someone you know from each of the groups and try to connect what we say with the way that person behaves. So let's start with baby boomer. This is a generation that was born between more or less 1946 and 1964. They are defined by the post-war optimism, imagine that, and face-to-face communication. Some of the attributes that characterize them are commitment, they are people who are very optimistic, and they are very competitive. And they are also very loyal. They are also seen as well educated. They are very diplomatic, and you can say they are also very idealistic. And they value loyalty and job security. That's something very important for them. In terms of leadership, this group expect them to be committed to the team's success and to lead by example. Respect for expertise and experience is very important for this generation. They also value face-to-face interactions and active listening and expect others to pay attention to what they have to say. So if we think about the work environment, they like a clear organizational structure and clarity about roles and responsibilities. This is very important for them. So now let's move on and start learning a little bit about Gen X, which is the generation that was born between 1965 and the 80s, 1980. So this generation, different from the previous one, was shaped by a unique mix of social, economic, and technological shifts, including the rise of personal computers and the Cold War, if we think about an historical event. And they were also shaped by a more diverse and fragmented cultural landscape. So this generation is characterized by independence, self-direction. They're very pragmatic. You can think about these people like groups who are very skeptical, resourceful, independent, entrepreneurial, and very straightforward. They need flexibility and work-life balance in their work and arrangements. This is a generation that started thinking about these 2 main areas. In terms of leadership, they expect leaders to trust their judgment and provide them with the autonomy to work effectively. They're very result-oriented, and they really appreciate colleagues who are competent, reliable, and focused on achieving goals. They appreciate getting to the point quickly and avoiding unnecessary small talks. They're also comfortable with technology and appreciate communications channels that are efficient and convenient, like emails, instant messaging, and video conferencing. For me, this generation is like the sandwich generation. They are used to working with both generations, the older ones, the baby boomers and silent generations, but also with younger generations, millennials and Gen Z. We have seen that it is easier to this generation to bridge communication gaps and foster understanding between different age groups. And nowadays, if you think about leadership teams or senior leadership teams within the companies, most of them are represented by this generation. So let's move on and start talking about millennials. This is a generation that born between 1981 and 1996. So this generation is shaped by the rise of technology. They are technologically savvy, they feel empowered, they feel pragmatic, or they are pragmatic. They feel very confident, they like collaboration, and they are very community-centered. They value flexibility and collaboration a lot, and they expect leaders to articulate a clear vision and mission that aligns with their values and makes a positive impact. Pay attention to the words. Like Gen X, they also value professional development and seek leaders who will invest in their growth, and they expect from them mentorship, training, and opportunities for career progression. As I mentioned before, this generation is highly collaborative, and they expect colleagues to be supportive, communicative, and willing to work together towards shared goals. This generation greatly value work-life balance. They expect colleagues to be understanding of professional commitments and to respect boundaries. This is very important for them too. And when they communicate, they value transparent, open, and honest conversations and prefer communication channels that are digital, accessible, and efficient, such as instant messaging, project management tools, and video conferencing. So let's move on now and talk about the Gen Z generation, the ones who were born between 1997 and 2012. These guys are the true digital native. They prioritize inclusivity, quick feedback, and innovation, and they're also known as centennials. I'm pretty sure you have heard about this before. They're more confident, they're very empathetic, and they use digital spaces on a permanent basis. So they can access and navigate networks like more fluently than previous generations. And I'm pretty sure you have experienced this already. So now, this generation also values authenticity and empathy as the one before in their and they like that in their leaders, and are very driven by a strong sense of purpose. They want leaders who are genuine, transparent, and understand their perspective and concerns. They expect colleagues to be respectful, inclusive, and open-minded towards individuals from all backgrounds. For them, inclusivity is something very important. They also expect colleagues to, including their leaders, to provide constructive feedback and be receptive of their own feedback as well. In terms of collaboration, they are very technology driven. They like to utilize like tools and platforms that enhance efficiency and communication. And also, as the previous generations, they also value flexibility and work-life balance, but in a little different way. They expect collaboration to allow for remote work options and also flexible work arrangements. So everyone from Generation X to Gen Z, they all value work-life balance, but in a very different way. So if we move to the next slide, you will see a table or a summary that we have prepared for all of you. And you, oh, sorry, I lost the presentation. And you will see here how each generation has evolved throughout the years. And we have prepared that for you. We will share this document, and you will be able to use this as you wish. But the most important here is to understand how each generation has evolved in terms of leadership, collaboration, communication, and work environment. And we encourage you every time you have a conversation or you want to negotiate something with any of these generations to take these words into account. So why understanding this matter? Why understanding all differences and the specific characteristics of each generation matters? So we have been working and helping organizations with this challenge for a long time now. And based on that experience, and after talking and interviewing more than 200 people at all levels from different organizations and all different generations, we can confirm that generational differences can lead to communication gaps and misunderstanding. And innovation will also be very affected. There is a productivity lag and also a significant, a productivity leak and also a significant lack of engagement when it is most needed. However, this situation also presents opportunities for innovation and creativity. When leveraged well, this diversity will enhance problem solving and decision making. And this is very important to take into account. We will have both sides. And let me share with you an example that I really like to illustrate this. I've been working as a consultant and facilitator for a global educational organization that has over 100 facilitators worldwide. They're ranging from Gen Z to baby boomers. The target audience is teenagers, young Generation Z and Alphas. And most of their programs are online and rely heavily on technology. At the beginning, it was a big challenge, and most of the time and most of the experienced facilitators were not tech savvy, and the youngest facilitators did not manage the content well enough to deliver the training effectively. And they also lacked sufficient facilitation experience, which was a challenge for them because they really needed to have tech savvy facilitators, but also facilitators who manage the content very well. So this organization was very smart in managing the situation. They decided to assign 2 facilitators per cohort and pair them considering the age gaps. So encouraging facilitators to apply what we call reverse mentoring. So young facilitators led all the tech aspects and experienced facilitators led the content aspects. And then they had to learn and apply the learning with their following cohorts. So after 4 years about practicing this and doing this, they now have a very strong group of motivated facilitators from all generations working together and delivering very engaging sessions with excellent results. For me, this is amazing. And it is a clear example of how you can leverage and take advantage of this diversity. So now that I have shared with you the characteristics of each generation, I will hand it over to Natalia, who will tell you about the essential skills we have identified are essential to effectively lead multi-generational teams.
Thank you, Claudia. And now, as Claudia said, that we understand what each generation values and why this is so important, let's talk about the essential skills that we need for leading multi-generational teams. And we hope this is the moment that you have been waiting for today. But before we move on, we want to bring up one important point that has to be considered when you work with any diverse team, in this case, multi-generational teams. And I'm referring here to our unconscious biases, which are triggered when we make quick judgments. An unconscious bias is a prejudice or stereotype we hold around certain group of people, and we're not even aware of that we have them. So it is important to be aware, to identify and to eliminate those false and negative stereotypes around generations if we really want to create successful interactions. Looking at someone based on his or her generation affiliation is only one filter through which we can look at people. So that means that we are going to leave behind other important factors. So we may be ending up with just very little information about this person, missing a huge and important part about them. For instance, their expertise, their knowledge, their cultural background, their ambitions and goals. There is a lot of information that makes up a person and enriches their contribution to the team. And I love this slide that we are seeing now, because it's very frequently when we have all the evidence in front of us, but we hold very tight to our own belief and we take them as the truth without questioning or challenging them. And in most cases, we may end up with a wrong perception about people and will miss the full potential of our team. So this is important to keep in mind. And now that we have this clear, we can move forward and talk about what we have found to be the essential skills that we need to develop and sustain effective interaction and making up an effective team. And this is based on our research and our experience working with multiple organizations, that we have identified these 3 essential skills that consistently make a difference for the teams and their results. And they are empathy, curiosity, and flexibility. So let's talk about empathy. Empathy is the ability to take on another person's perspective. It is to understand and feel what the other person is going through. And with this, I don't mean that you as a leader needs to suffer if someone from your team is suffering. Empathy is not feeling for the other, but it is to understanding and what the other person is feeling with respect and genuine care. I remember last year I had a coachee. It was a millennial leader, and at that moment he had someone from his team that was struggling to complete a report because they just had recently implemented a new disruptive technology. So instead of showing frustration, he took proactive steps and arranged a meeting to sat with her and understand what was going on, what were the challenges that she was facing. She needed extra training, which of course he provided, but he also offered her a realistic extension of the dates. So he wanted to make sure that the deadlines were on time, and she also could adapt to the new technology. So with this approach, he was not only showing empathy, but it was also ensuring that business objectives were met without compromising the well-being of the team. The ultimate goal of an empathetic person is to connect meaningfully with others. Now let's talk about curiosity. And I think we all can agree that in today's world, we all need to be curious with so many changes and breakthrough innovations. There is no another way. But the curiosity that we are referring here is to be curious to learn more about others. Leaders need to be willing to explore and learn from their team members. It is also about asking questions and encouraging them to share their ideas and perspective. Start meeting by asking others for input to spark a dialogue, or by making questions that invite contribution from all team members. For example, you could ask, how do you see this challenge based on your experience? Or how do you think we can enhance this strategy from your point of view? Be intentional and ask open questions that invite everyone to participate, so you can get different perspective, different generation perspective, and create a balance in the discussion. And now let's talk about flexibility. And flexibility has to do with accepting, adapting, and implementing new ideas. And this is key when working in an environment where different generations bring different perspectives to the same situation. Being flexible helps you to listen more actively, be open to new ideas, and manage more effectively the way you communicate. And I want to make clear something. And flexibility is not only about accepting change, it's about seeking it. As leader, when we seek change and we are open to new ideas, we create opportunities to innovate faster, we empower our team and make them feel value, and we stay ahead in a rapidly evolving environment. So ask yourself, are you flexible enough to let go the familiar and embrace the new when it counts? So if you think about these three skills, empathy, curiosity, and flexibility, you can see that they're not just skills, they're leadership superpower. And the good news is that we all can develop them, and we're here to help you. That's why we're here today. With the right framework and the right practices, we can lead you to go to your next level of performance. And we will be happy to do that. So with this in mind, now we want to share with you our finds in the best practices subject, because we have, as Claudia said before, we have worked already with multiple organizations, and these are the best practices that we have designed, implement, and prove that are effective for enhancing collaboration and productivity. So Claudia, all yours.
Thank you, Natalia. Well, as Natalia said, we have been implementing, well, designing and implementing these practices with our clients. And we are going to share with you the 5 practices we think are the ones that are most popular and really causing an impact, and they are very easy to implement. Some of them may sound familiar for you, but believe me, we can prove they have supported success, and it is about having a clear intention. So the first one, let me wait. Thank you. It's about encouraging knowledge exchange. So what is this about? Very simple. Set up mentoring and reverse mentoring programs where Gen Z shares tech insights, for example, with the group, and then baby boomers offer leadership advice. We have seen the impact of this, and everyone feels valued and included. This can also be a great opportunity to help younger generations to develop their facilitation and leadership skills. The second one is about real-time feedback. Natalia, could you please move the slide? So if you remember, I was talking before about some of the each generation's values, and for some of them, real-time feedback is very important. So provide constructive feedback in real time to keep performance aligned and to drive continuous improvements. So the best moment to share feedback is right after something happens, such as a presentation, the conclusion of an important meeting, or the successful completion of an important meeting or task. So this approach, as I just mentioned, is especially important when working with Gen Z, as they highly value immediate, clear, and constructive input to help them grow and refine their skills. This is what they are looking for. Don't wait for formal meeting to provide feedback. You can do this one-on-one or simply using apps like Slack, Microsoft Teams, even LinkedIn, which is very common nowadays, where you will see people delivering quick notes of appreciation or suggestions. So the next practice is about flexible policies and processes. So if possible, and align to the organization's main processes, dare yourself to innovate and create new methods to fulfill your team's needs. And let me illustrate this with an example. So an organization I was working with as a consultant that relies on traditional performance evaluations. They conduct the formal reviews like only twice a year. They have the traditional mid-year review and the annual review. So in this organization, one executive was facing significant organizational changes and was really eager to elevate the team's performance. And together with his leadership team, they decided to introduce monthly performance reviews without interfering with the formal annual review the company already has. So this change, which was very simple, fostered consistent feedback, clearer communication, and provided a strong support for the team. Within a year, the results were very clear. The team felt more engaged, better supported, and successfully met the performance expectations. So you can see here how simple it is to change something and have a huge impact. Also, you can consider hybrid work models and deliver benefits to address generational needs. What I'm trying to say here is practice empathy case by case and understand what your team and every team member really needs. So the next practice is about celebrating achievements. But here, it's not only about recognizing individual results, it is about recognizing team milestones, team's results to foster motivation and also unity. I remember when I was working as the HR head for a multinational company. This is an organization that is very result oriented and where every milestone they achieved was a good reason to celebrate. And those moments also were the perfect time to connect with other colleagues from different functions or regions. But now, if I look back and I can say it was the perfect time to bond and connect with diverse generational colleagues. So when we are all together, it's a time where we can really understand what people like, what they enjoy, and what their preferences are. And the last one, but not the least important, foster inclusion. Create a space both inside and outside the office to connect with and get to know your team better. So practice curiosity. And when you practice curiosity and you get the knowledge, you can then be more empathetic. These can include informal gatherings, such as coffee breaks, team lunches, or social events, as well as structured team buildings and workshops. The point here is to build trust and strengthen bonds. All these practices seem very simple, but they have a profound impact on teams' dynamics. Remember that, and I love this slide, that small actions lead to big changes in trust, collaboration, and productivity. We should always remember this. Well, we are now heading to the end, and we know that this webinar has only scratched the surface, but we have a workshop to help you and help your team to become more effective when leading multi-generational teams. This is a 6-hour workshop that can be delivered virtually or in person and can be tailored to your unique needs. Every organization is different and every practice is going to be different. And the good news is that we have a special promotion for the members of the chamber. Well, thank you for investing your time with us today. We hope you have found this information useful. And Yarela, I think we can open the floor for questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Natalia, Claudia. It was very interesting presentation. I wanted to highlight the fact that, or the data that you mentioned, that the 47% of the Gen Z employees feels that they receive a better career advice from ChatGPT. Wow, this is crazy. I know that we all know that technology is changing and challenging in different aspects, but this is super interesting and is telling us that the managers need to adapt their approach, embrace the technology, and of course, finding new ways to engage with younger generations. So thank you so much for this, all the devices, and we have for sure that everybody is appreciating here all the information that you provide. So we already have some questions coming out from our attendees. The first one is how I can create a cultural and inclusive and a respect workplace from all generations that feel valued and empowered.
Claudia, let me answer that, and then I'll pass it to you. I'll hand over to you. That's a very good one, because as a leader, you have the most important part in building an inclusive culture. So you have to be the role model for the behaviors that you expect others to exhibit. For example, you can start by applying one or two of the best practices that we just shared with you. And I mean, you have to think what's your need. And depending on that, there is going to be one of the practices that better suits to your need. But if I have to highlight something, is that be the role model that your organization need. Claudia, something else?
Yes, I would add to what you are saying that here, especially here, it is important to practice the superpowers, especially curiosity, to learn more about your team members, because this will help you identify what everyone needs as an individual. So remember, you now have 3 superpowers, and if you keep practicing them, you can get the most of your team.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Thank you so much. I have another question here. Based on your experience, what are the main challenges in multi-generational workplaces?
I can answer this one, Natalia, if you want.
Go.
Awesome. Well, the main challenges that we always find are about collaboration, team effectiveness, and retention. So when we talk about collaboration, it's because groups don't know how to communicate with each other. And then the communication will impact the collaboration. It is like a ripple effect that will affect results and engagement. And team effectiveness is very connected to that. And this will also affect retention, because organizations have not been agile enough to change their processes and policies and adapt them to what people need in order to retain them. I don't know, Nat, if you want to add something to that, apart from collaboration, team effectiveness, and retention.
No, I would say that actually it's just what you just said about the collaboration and team effectiveness. So when you link both of them, you could make a different on your impact. So I would say focus on that.
Okay, thank you. Let me go through the next question. How can you showcase superpowers and implement these in a company with hybrid or remote working environment?
That's an amazing question. Would you like to answer that one, or otherwise I can answer that one, Nat?
Let me make sure I understood it. How do you can showcase
Superpowers and implementing This in a company that has hybrid or remote working environment.
I would say, and this is the approach that we normally use for developing the skills, is you get to, I mean, we use an approach that is learning, reflecting, and practicing. So you have to raise awareness among your leaders and give them the space to reflect on what are they, how is the impact they're having with their teams. Are they being effective? Are they achieving the results? Are they impacting the well-being of their team members? And then you got to start learning new practices, but also putting them into action. This takes time, but believe me, at the end, you will get all the best results and the change you want to see in people. I don't know, Claudia, if I'm missing something.
I just want to add something to what you were saying, and it is a conversation I always have with our clients. First, we have to remove the bias about work, online environments and in-person environments are very different. They are. But at the end, we can establish the same connections. The thing is that we have to connect in a different way. So if you have a remote team and you are in one city and they are spread all over the world, you can set meetings to have like informal chat with them. You can, in your one-on-one meetings with them, you can spend 5 minutes talking about things that are important to them. And that way you will start understanding and knowing a little bit more. And then is when you can practice empathy. And also is when you can, is a way to practice curiosity. Another thing that is important here when you are working remotely is that, so try to be curious in also understanding the context they live in. So if someone is in Europe, they will face different challenges. If someone is living in Latin America, they will face different challenges. If they are now in the US, or in Canada, they are facing different challenges. So if you understand the context they live in, this will help you. So here you're practicing curiosity, then you can become more empathetic. I hope this is answering your question. But try to remove the bias or the label about, because we are remote, we cannot not connect. And this is the first step.
Thank you so much. The next question. What are the best practices for mentoring and coaching employees from different generations?
Claudia, you want to go with that one? That's your specialty.
Well, first, we should separate the practices because mentoring is different from coaching. Mentoring is about knowledge exchange, and we already mentioned that. So try to implement or find spaces when everyone can share their expertise. If you have someone within your team who is a leader, try to ask that person to mentor the ones who are younger. And if you have in your team young team members who are very tech savvy, ask them to help the rest of the group with the tools they know. So try to exchange knowledge. Be creative. Try to exchange knowledge. Ask them how they can or they want to help others. That's about mentoring. I remember a company that they implemented like the knowledge corner or something like that. So and this was virtual. So every month someone was sharing something they were very good at, and everyone from the company could attend. And this practice was very appreciated, and people really like it because it didn't matter if you were someone very senior or junior. You were there just sharing what you know or what you are expert at, and sharing your knowledge. And I saw things like people sharing how to improve your Excel skills, people talking about mindfulness at work, people talking about how to manage the business, people talking about technical knowledge. So it was really interesting and people really loved that. And coaching, I would say that coaching is a tool that everyone, it doesn't matter the generation, if they are open to transformation, they will always appreciate.
Yeah, and they take advantage of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any other
Right,
questions?
we still have one question here. How can leaders balance the needs of different generations while maintaining organizational goals?
Yeah. I would say that it is important that you talk to that you maintain conversations with your team. It makes a huge difference, and we have seen that in our clients. There is a huge difference between the leader that it feels okay by being vulnerable, by sitting with their team and, you know, raising any point, even though if they don't know the answer, but make everyone feel important by talking to them and by asking them what do they think about the issue that you are having at that moment. So communication is a key factor when you work with different generation groups, and also recognizing achievement. And here is where the summary that we share, it is important because every generation values different things. So for me as a next gen, it may be different. Recognition may be different from a millennial. So take into consideration these differences to connect and recognize each of your team members.
I would like to add something to that, Nat, so building on what you were saying. We have seen that leaders who practice curiosity, empathy, and flexibility are the ones who are better in balancing this, because they are very good at understanding what is happening within the team, outside the team, within the organization in general. So my recommendation is to keep practicing them, and that's the reason why we call them the superpowers, because the more you implement them, the better you will be able to find the right strategies to connect with your team members as a team and also as an individuals.
Great. Thank you so much, Natalia and Claudia. We have reached to the end of the webinar, and I just want to make a quick reminder that this session has been recorded, and you can find these and other webinars on our YouTube channel, and be sure to follow us also in social media to stay updated on our upcoming events. Thank you so much for your time, everybody, and thank you, Claudia and Natalia, again, and have a great day, and bye now.
Thank you, Yarela.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.